Okay, we ready? Well, let's go. I want you to picture something. A man stands in a dimly lit room. His fists are clenched, but he's not fighting anyone in front of him. He's fighting shadows, dark shapes that have followed him since childhood. He swings, chases, he yells, but the shadows don't move because they're not outside of him, they're inside. And behind him, almost unnoticed, is a small child, watching, learning, absorbing, until eventually the shadows leave the man to settle over the child. This episode is about those shadows, the ones we inherited, the ones we denied, and the ones our children are quietly learning from us, even when we think we're hiding them. You weren't given your children by accident. God chose you specifically to be their father. Welcome to the Dad on Purpose podcast, presented by Daddy Up. I'm Jason Jones, and today we're confronting one of the hardest truths of fatherhood. Whatever you don't face in yourself shows up in your kids. Not because you're a bad father, but because pain that is unhealed will always look for the next generation to live in. This is episode 9. You either face your demons or they'll raise your kids. So I want to start this episode. First and foremost, I just want to thank you for being here. Again, this is episode 9, and this one hits hard for me. Throughout this episode, I think most of the things that we're going to talk about are things that I'm dealing with myself, or that I have dealt with, or that I've been through. This one hits home. But there are 3 types of fathers that this episode is for. Number 1 is the father who says he's fine. This is the man who denies his demons. He pushes them down, or he laughs them off and acts like nothing affects him. But inside, he's drowning. Number 2, the father who knows his demons, but has no idea where to start healing. This father feels the weight, the anger, the sadness, the unresolved childhood he wants to heal. But healing feels bigger than he is. And number 3, the father who suddenly sees his demons in his own children. Now, this one hurts when your child reacts the way you do, when you hear your tone come out of their mouth, when your anger shows up in their frustration, when their sadness looks exactly like yours. And it breaks you because you know the pain didn't start with them, but it's landing on them. And like I said, for me, this one hits home because I am all 3 of those fathers. Ask me how I'm doing. I'm fine. I'm okay. I'm pushing forward. But I promise you, I'm drowning. Don't know where to go. I don't know where to start. And I feel like one tiny little thing is going to cause me to burn it all down. I'm also the father who knows my demons. I know what my demons are. I don't know where to start. Don't know what to do because a lot of times these demons feel bigger than I am. And tackling them is just something that I don't know if I'm able to do. And I am definitely number 3, father who sees his demons in his own children. I can see the pain that I have and that I'm carrying transition over to them. I can see it. And a lot of that, not a lot of it, all of it is my own fault because I didn't handle my demons at the time when I was supposed to. And now those demons are tired of me and they're going to get my kids. Now it's time for me to fix things. So I promise you beyond a shadow of a doubt, I am all three of these men. So let's start where all demons begin. Not in adulthood, but in childhood. Most men think their issue started at what? 30, right? They didn't. They started at 7 or 9, 12, whatever age you were when your heart broke and nobody noticed. At the age when you stopped crying because crying never helped, or at the age when you learned anger was safer than vulnerability, or at the age when you started caring more than any child should have to hold. Your father shaped you, even when he didn't mean to. There are fathers who carry trauma so heavy, it changes the way they breathe. They are sad men, but sadness in men often comes out as anger, not because they're bad, but because they're hurting. And also because a lot of times anger is the only emotion that is socially acceptable for men. It's not okay to cry. It's not okay to show that you're vulnerable. It's not okay to be sad. But mad, we can accept that. We can accept you being mad. And the sad truth is that the boy in the room is absorbing all of it. I want to talk a little bit about my dad. And I know I've mentioned my dad in previous episodes, and I'm going to say it like I've always said it before. I am not bashing my father. Love my father, right? He's moved on, he's transitioned, he's passed, but I promise you I love that man. I understand a lot of what he dealt with when I was younger. I understand it better now as a father. But my truth is my truth, and my testimony is my testimony. So I'm going to tell it. My father, from my perspective, was a hard man to live with. Dad was angry. He was abusive, um, both mentally, physically, verbally, however you want to line it up. He was a very hard man to live with. There always felt like there was a dark cloud over my house growing up. Felt like I had to walk on eggshells because I didn't know how he was going to react. I didn't know if he was going to grab me and love me and hug me, or if he was going to grab me and beat me up. I just didn't know. Now, my dad dealt with a lot of pain, which was filtered through the lens of anger. But his pain was real. He had reasons to have pain and to be hurt and to be sad. My dad never knew his mom. His mother died when she gave birth to him. His father, his biological father, from what I know, and I don't know if I'm telling everything, but from what I've heard, his biological father, just at the time, wasn't ready to be a father. He didn't know how he was going to take care of a child on his own. And I'm sure the man was grieving from losing his wife. But he made the decision to, I guess, basically give my father away to his mother's, my grandmother, her best friend, and her husband. And my father went and to live and was raised by a family that wasn't his biological family, wasn't his mother, wasn't his father. And these people who I came to know as my grandparents did a fantastic job. They brought him into the family and they treated him like he was their own. His cousins, who were technically his cousins, right? They ended up calling him brother. He called them brother and sister. They treated him like he was an actual biological part of the family. So he had a family that was growing up. But the truth of the matter, again, is that he never knew his mom. Right? Could you imagine the pain of not knowing who your mom is? Could you imagine the weight you put on yourself when you become older and you understand that your mother died giving birth to you? How that makes you feel? Can you imagine the times when all he wanted was a wise word from his father, or to understand why his dad wasn't around and he never got the answer? That's pain nobody should have to deal with. My father dealt with it. And he had a lot of trauma. He had a lot of things that needed to be resolved, that needed to be unpacked, that never was. So again, a lot of his sadness and his depression and his just, I don't know what word to use, just a lot of the things that he was dealing with, they were never unpacked and they came out as anger. Now, me, I knew my mother. I knew my father. I didn't have to deal with the same things that he had to deal with. I don't have a right or the same reasons, same heavy, like real life world reasons. I don't have those to justify my anger and the way that I feel. But I also understand that the demons that my father didn't face, or that he couldn't face, or for whatever reason just wasn't able to, they got transferred over to me. And that anger, that same anger that I swore that I was never going to let get to me, it got to me. And I became to my children what my father was to me. And I can sit here and I can justify it and I can say, my dad was a lot worse on me than I am on mine, and that they don't really know, what trauma is. They don't know what it is to just get beat up for no reason, right? Or to have a belt come across their backside, or get smacked in the head, or whatever it is. They don't know what that is. But they feel the same. The feeling for them is still the same. There's a big man yelling at them and screaming at them. They're terrified. Again, I'm being vulnerable right now. I'm being true. I can sit here, I can get on this podcast, and I can sit here and I can tell you that, hey, I'm a great dad. I'm this and I'm that. I'm not. I make mistakes all the time, but I'm trying to become better. I've understood the error of my ways, and I'm trying. I'm making genuine efforts, intentional efforts to not be to my children what my dad was to me at times. Trying to take the best of him and make it all of me. And it's a process. And that's why this episode is so emotional, and it really hits me right where it hurts. Now, pain that isn't faced, it doesn't disappear, it mutates. Now, the demons that most fathers are fighting are: one, anger that isn't actually anger. It's like I just said, right? There's anger and there's feeling, not anger, there's emotions that are filtered through the lens of anger. And often those emotions are fear, disappointment, shame, exhaustion, emotional overload. Anger is usually the mask that pain wears when it thinks nobody will protect it. Let that one sink in. I'm going to say it again, but I want you to let this one sink in. Anger is usually the mask pain wears when it thinks nobody will protect it. Kids with chronically angry fathers are 40% more likely to develop anxiety and emotional dysregulation. And that's just what the numbers are. Some men don't explode, they shut down. And we call that emotional numbness. So that's number 2 as far as the demons that most fathers are fighting. That emotional numbness or unavailability, however you want to categorize it. Research shows that children of emotionally unavailable fathers are twice as likely to struggle with emotional expression. So if you're emotional numb, if you're emotionally unavailable, your children are going to deal with that. It's not just you saying, I'm just going to pull myself away. I'm just going to, since every time I react, it hurts somebody. So I'm just going to pull myself back. Just going to be numb. They feel that just as much. You think you're doing them a favor, but you're not. They're going to feel that too. Number 3 on the demons that most fathers are fighting is trauma that you never processed. It's like I said about my dad. Man, my dad had real life trauma. He had real life issues that he had to deal with that was never processed. And unresolved trauma in fathers increases the likelihood of generational behavioral problems by up to 70%. I am a walking, breathing, living example of that. The trauma that my father never processed is placed on me. It dropped right in my lap, right? I never asked for it, never wanted it, but it dropped right in my lap, and now I got to carry it. Number 4, addiction, avoidance, and escaping. Whether it's alcohol, porn, work, food, or just any kind of distraction. Anything that keeps you from feeling teaches your children to avoid feelings too. Let me say that again. Whether it's alcohol, porn, work, food, or distractions, anything that keeps you from feeling teaches your children to avoid feelings too. Children of fathers with addiction patterns are 4 times likely, or 4 times more likely, to develop their own. And if you listen to, I believe, episode 2, where I told the story of the accident that I got into, that's because I was high. I smoked weed for over 20 some years. And when I say I smoked, boy, I smoked. So this is a true stat right here. You're 4 times more likely, your children are, to develop their own addiction patterns. And when I got hooked, and that pattern was there. Number 5 of the demons that most fathers are facing is silence. Now, this is the most common demon because silence doesn't look harmful, but silence creates emotional orphans. Again, we get so worked up, we get so sad, we get so depressed, whatever it is, and then we react, right? And when we react and we burn it all down because we react, and someone's got to feel us, someone's got to know what we're feeling. Someone has to hold this. So we react, and then we learn through our reacting that we're losing things. We're losing respect. We're losing gratitude from others. We're losing whatever it may be. We start to learn that reaction causes things to be taken away from us. So now we have to learn, I'm just not going to react. I'm going to be silent. But when you're silent, that's still reacting. You're just pulling yourself away, and that's not helping anybody. Again, silence doesn't look harmful, but it will create emotional orphans. So you're hurting your children when you do that. And you think that you're doing the right thing, but you're not. Now, here's the part that we don't talk about enough, and that's how demons raise your children. Now, this is the gut punch, right? Because unhealed men don't realize that your demons don't just hurt you, they educate your children. Your rage teaches them fear. Your silence teaches them distance. Your sadness teaches them instability. Your emotional absence teaches them self-sufficiency too early. And your avoidance teaches them not to trust you. I want to run over that again because I'm sure a lot of men can relate to what I'm saying here. Your rage will teach them fear. You blow up and you scream. That fear that they should never have to deal with from their father is something that they will learn. Your silence teaches them distance. When you're silent and you just remove yourself and you're not sitting down at the table to have dinner, or you're not in the mix with them because you're so upset and you don't want to react, you're teaching them distance. Your sadness teaches them instability. Your emotional absence teaches them self-sufficiency too early. When you just emotionally pull yourself away, you're teaching them to be self-sufficient way more early than they need to. They're not supposed to learn these lessons as early as sometimes we force them to. And your avoidance teaches them not to trust you. Please understand that your child is learning how to be human by watching how you handle being human. But this episode is not here to shame you. It's here to free you. Because what you inherited, you can interrupt. So, breaking the cycle, right? The moment a father decides to heal. Now, healing begins with one decision. And that decision is simply that this pain ends in me. The cycle breaks with me. It will not go further than me. I'm not going to curse my children and my grandchildren and generations of my lineage because of a decision that I did not make. So the pain ends in me. Not because you're perfect, but because you're responsible. You understand the role that you play. You understand what you need to do in the moment in order to get right. So here's what healing actually looks like. Number one, naming what hurt you. Right? You can't heal what you won't name. So instead of saying I'm angry, I'm mad, I'm not, I'm sad, I'm depressed, I'm dealing with some things that aren't anger but are coming out as anger. Right? So we have to name it. We got to put a name on these things, because again, we're not going to heal what we don't name. You have to own what you've passed to your kids. And this is not guilt, it's accountability. I know that I have put things on my children way too early. I'm not blaming it on my dad. Now, the circumstance is that I got it from him, but I know that I made the decision to put it on them myself. And trust me, I feel a tremendous amount of guilt, but I'm also giving myself grace because now I'm accountable. Number three, apologizing where necessary. A father who apologizes teaches his child how to repair. Again, if you go back to episode 2, if you listen to that, I tell a glimpse of the story of how I had to apologize to my 2 oldest children for my addiction and what that caused them to have to deal with. And I won't go into the whole thing now, but I promise you that it was one of the hardest conversations, if not the hardest conversation that I've ever had to have in my life. But it also freed me up in so many ways. It allowed me to give myself grace, to give myself patience, and it allowed my children to understand that dad can say sorry and that I can be redeemed in their eyes. Number 4, learning emotional language. You don't need poetry, right? Like, you don't have to be the most poetic or give them some soliloquy that just is perfectly crafted. Just got to be honest. Just be honest. That's all that this is. Honesty is the key to pretty much everything. Number 5 on how a father decides to heal is getting help, therapy, mentorship, brotherhood. And I'm in a group therapy class right now that I thought was helping me. But in a moment of, I guess, transparency, I'm going to tell you, today I almost lost it. Today I almost burned it down, boy. I almost burned it down because of the pressure that I'm feeling from work and from life and from bills and from everything else that's coming at me from every single angle. I was so close to lighting the match and burning it all down and just choosing myself over the ones who I love the most. And I knew that I couldn't, but knowing that I couldn't gave me so much frustration and so much angst and so much, I don't even know what word to use here. But I knew that although I'm in group therapy, I need more. So today, just a few hours ago, I found myself a therapist. I scheduled an appointment, and it's time for the one-on-one. Because as fathers, there's so many things that we have to deal with. There's so many things that we have to go through, and so much pressure that's on us from every possible angle. And if we don't have the skills to handle all these things that are going to come at us, we're going to be one very quick and easy decision away from throwing it all away. So we got to go find the help. So again, get some help, get therapy, get mentorship, get brotherhood, because asking for help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You know, fathers who receive emotional support see significant improvement in their children's behavioral and emotional outcomes. So it's your responsibility if you're dealing with these things. It is your responsibility to seek out and to find the help that you need in order to unpack the things that are in there, that are in those dark corners in your mind. It's your responsibility to take a flashlight up into that brain, up into those dark thoughts, and shine a light and start figuring some things out. Now, let's talk about the part that a lot of men underestimate the most, and that is God's role in healing what you cannot fix. Now, before your father wounded you, before life hardened you, before anger shaped you, God knew every crack in your heart. And He didn't walk away. He didn't disown you. He didn't call you broken. He called you His. God doesn't shame men into healing. He leads them into restoration. Healing is not a punishment. It's a return. That brings us to something powerful. Now, if your child is already showing your demons, I want you to understand that number one, it's not too late. Number two, you have not failed. And number three, that your kids will heal when their father heals. Again, if your child is already showing your demons, it's not too late. I promise you it's not too late. Now, you haven't failed. Just because you've made wrong decisions doesn't mean that you can't atone, doesn't mean that you can't turn things around, doesn't mean that you can't repent, doesn't mean that you can't fix it. You haven't failed. And that your kids will heal when you, as a man and as a father, heal. When fathers make emotional improvements, their children show rapid positive changes in behavior and emotional stability, often within weeks, not years. So your healing is most certainly their healing. And now, this is the part that every father needs to heal. And this is the vow of a healing father. My children, I can't change what I inherited, but I can change what I passed down. I will not let my demons raise you. I will not let my pain shape you. I will not let my anger become your identity. I choose healing. I choose growth. I choose love, the kind I never received and the kind I needed the most. My wounds end with me, and your childhood will be lighter because I did the work. Now, if you've listened to any of these previous episodes, you know that I always like to include a letter to my children that focuses on the topic of the episode. So, letter to my children, if you ever see me struggle. My children, if you ever see me frustrated or tired or distant, I want you to know something. I am fighting battles so you don't have to. Some days I win, some days I don't. But every single day, I choose you. And every time I choose healing, I'm really choosing your future. You are the reason I fight my demons. Not to be perfect, but to be present. And as we wrap up this episode, we can't leave without a prayer, just like we do with all these episodes. So if you're able to, I ask that you close your eyes, that you bow your head. And if not, if you're just not in a position where you can, just please be here in the moment with us. Father God, you know the parts of me I've hidden for years. You know the wounds, the fears, the anger, and the weight I've carried. I'm asking you to help me face the things I've avoided so my children don't inherit what broke me. Heal me so I can lead them. Restore me so I can protect them. Guide me so I can raise them with love instead of fear. In Jesus' mighty and glorious name we pray. Amen. Dad, you either face your demons or they will raise your kids. And you are too important. Your children are too precious and your legacy is too valuable to let your pain speak louder than your love. Face it, heal it, break it. I want to thank you for joining me today. And remember, your presence is powerful. Your role is sacred. And God chose you for this calling. Fatherhood isn't easy, but it's holy work. Keep learning, keep loving, and keep leading your family in faith. Until next time, be dad on purpose. See y'all next time, everybody. Daddy up.